If you're anything like me, you've got some projects sitting around the house that you were supposed to do or come back to, or you get around to it the other day and then it never happened. Well, I'd like to introduce you to my project. This is my dining room table. It's made from black walnut and it has a 2x6 big box store pine wood base. The base has not done a good job. This was supposed to be temporary, and 4 years later, I now have a huge dip in the table that I have to fix. So my friends over at Real American Hardwood have sent me some walnut. We're gonna make a new base. We're gonna make 8 chairs to go around to match to pull the whole thing together, and it's gonna be awesome. So let's jump right into it. Now we're out in the shop, and in front of me is a beautiful piece of walnut. This is a big slab, and we're gonna take this slab and we're gonna turn it into the base for our table. If you're not familiar with walnut, it is my personal favorite species of wood. It's hard, it's durable, and when you finish it off, like this piece of wood, you get beautiful brown colors. It's got a tight grain pattern. It is a top-notch wood. So that's why I've chose to use that as our base. So we've got some work ahead of us. We're gonna use a Shaper Origin, which is like a handheld CNC machine. And then we're gonna put in some bow ties across that. Fix the cracks, and then over here is just gonna be good old-fashioned joinery work. So to get started with the bow ties, the first thing we need to do is mark where we wanna put the bow ties. So we'll put one here, kind of runs like that, another one here, another one there, another one there, and then one at the end. So the next thing that we're gonna do, now that we have our marks of where we want the bow ties to go, is we will take our shaper plate, which is this right here, and line it up where I want it. So I pull it down like this, gives me my center line, and I know that I want the center to be on the crack. And then I've got it lined up almost perfect right there. So now that it's lined up, I'm gonna take the shaper, put it on, and we're gonna cut out our bow tie shape, okay? These machines are amazing. What we're gonna do is turn it on and start cutting. Okay, so now we have outlined our bow tie, and we have also pocketed the hole, and you can see here, if we look, so we went around the outside first and got to depth. The crack that goes across actually isn't that deep. We would have probably been okay, maybe it would have taken a bunch of years, but we know for sure now that it's gonna be okay. The pockets are cut for our bow ties, and so now it's time to actually cut out the real bow ties. All right, so we've got one cut here. We're gonna pop it out. We're gonna do a test fit and see. It's a little tight, but I think we can probably get it. So we're just gonna knock down these edges and see if that helps us get in there. Sometimes you have to persuade the wood to go in. You know, I think with a sledge, that'll probably work. And you want to put enough glue in there, but you don't need to overdo it. Yeah, I'd say that's a great fit right there. We're going to get the rest of these put in, and then we will move on to cutting these out and making them into our uprights. All right, so our bow ties are all done. They've been inlaid. We've taken the sander to them. We didn't go too deep into the grits because we don't want to create a divot that is there because we haven't sanded the entirety of the slab. But as you can see, we've got our 5 bow ties in. They're completely flush to the top of the slab, and we've handled this giant crack that was in the slab. So now this isn't gonna cause us any problems down the road. It's been handled. We're gonna be good on that. We're gonna rub a little bit of mineral spirits on it so we can see what this might look like when we're done. So you've got something that is a little bit of character, but it'll be under the table, so unless somebody looks under there, they won't see it. And then the other thing I like about it is that, you know, it's at an angle. It's cool. It's not just, you know, put in a straight line. So each one looks like it was hand done, which is what they were. So when I look at this slab of wood, the things that I'm thinking are, one, it's beautiful. Two, how can I get the most out of it? So I know I need 2 pieces for my base. The uprights are gonna be 26 inches wide by 28 inches tall. So I know on the right side where I kind of already have a straight line, I'm gonna be able to cut that pretty quickly. So I'm gonna make a cut that goes basically pretty much down the middle of the piece of wood. And then I'll have a right section and a left section. This right section, basically once we get a good straight line here, then we start to cut out the rest of what we need based off of that one good straight line. You have to have one to start with. And then this left section is gonna be a little bit more tricky. The problem here is that it doesn't have enough room for us just to cut out the square like we do on the right. So what we're gonna probably have to do is cut off this section right here and move this over to here where we don't have enough wood and there's also some rotted wood. So a lot of this is just gonna be figuring it out as we go and trying to make it work. Let's make some sawdust. Shop vac's all set up, circular saw's all good. Now let's make our first cut. There we go. We've got this and we can see where all of our stuff is. We can see now we basically just need to make 2 cuts. One up here and one up here. So we're gonna make our line. All right, so the same thing as before, we're just gonna lay it on the line. Move our track. Now, get rid of that. Now we have perfectly straight 90-degree angle for us to base everything else off of. All right, so let's check this square up here. Yep, I think we're good there as well. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this, and now we've got this one over here. So now we just need to pull our 26 inches off over to this, and then we have our first upright. Let's get our track. All right, there's our last cutoff. So now we have what is, an upright for the base. Looks awesome. So you can see all of our patchwork down here. Make sure that those cracks stay together. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. All right. Looking at the other half of the slab, now we have to figure out how to get our 26 by 28 out of this the most effective way. So I think what we're gonna do is probably, I found a really long line here along this area. It's gonna give us a good cutoff here. I think we'll be able to take that and finish off our box on this side. So we're gonna cut our first line here and then start to figure it out from there. All right, so we'll do what we did with the other ones and check our square. Pretty dead on. So now we know we have one square surface to work from. So let's see where we're at with everything else. And drop our line. So that's our next cut. Now we just mark out here where 26 falls. And we know we're gonna lose some down here. So start up here. 26, and then 26 falls off about here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off this little portion here. Then we're gonna figure out what to do with this. All right, so now we're looking at an almost square. basically what we're gonna do is fill in this portion here by cutting off from about here to here. And then we're gonna put across our own, we're gonna put a piece of the wood back in there. And I might actually go across this whole sapwood. So in a piece of wood, you're gonna have the heart of the wood, then you're gonna have the sap. So the sap's just the new stuff. So this light color here, we're actually gonna cut all that out so that it's all just dark wood. But we're gonna follow this grain here and then find a piece that fits it. So this is the Festool DF500. This is their domino joiner. They have a larger one. I think it's called the 700. I haven't gotten one of those yet, just trying to find a project to use one on, but I use this guy all the time. It has a mechanism, like a bit that comes out, and when you push it, you can see it comes out, and it's gonna go a certain depth. We'll set that according to what the domino is. Now this right here, this is a domino, and this is 50 millimeters long and 10 millimeters thick. So when this goes in, it's gonna set across the wood. You'll have multiples, and it'll set inside of the wood. We'll drill a pocket in each one, a lot like our bow ties, and it'll be on the inside, so you'll never see these little pieces of wood, but it's gonna add a lot of rigidity, strength. It's gonna create a better bond between the wood because there's more gluing surface. These are just really, really handy. Not to mention super strong. I could never break these with my fingers. So let's get these drilled out and then we will move along. All right, so now you can see what we've drilled out here. In the holes, we're actually gonna do a double stack here with the domino. Now at the bottom you can see obviously that we're gonna have some space, but I'm not too worried about it. With it being a table base, all the pressure's gonna be downward, and I'm just doing this, gives enough rigidity, and then it also will create plenty of glue surface. So we're gonna go ahead and insert the dominoes, glue those into the hole, and then we will clamp everything together. And then we have our piece of wood ready to be cut into a final square. So this goes in just like that. And they're gonna stack right on top of each other. From here, it's a very standard glue up. We're just gonna put glue along the face of the wood, just like we would any other time. We're gonna spread that around. Now some people get silicone sponges or what have you, and those are great if you want to use those. I've just never really used them. I've always just used a finger, and it works pretty much the same. Just more of a mess, I guess. So now everything's got glue on it. We're gonna put it together and put some clamps on it and then let it dry. These are just the standard clamps that you've probably seen from all sorts of people. So we've got our dead blow hammer that we've used before. It's a great hammer just to have in the shop when things are being a little stubborn. So let's get this started. All right, went together pretty quick actually. I'm really pleased with that. All right, so now we're gonna start putting some clamping force onto this. So we've got some squeeze out, always a good thing. It's nice and flat across there. That's a great thing. That's what you get when you use these domino joiners, is it gives a really great alignment. All right. This guy. It's stubborn. All right, right there. So with the 2 pieces of wood and a clamp, we're now gonna let the glue dry for about 24 hours. Then we'll come back and we'll make this square. Now in the meantime, we're gonna work on the support that goes underneath the table, and then we'll come back to this and make it square. So now that our uprights are all cleaned up and they're patched and they're square and they're the dimensions that we wanna be, we need to make pockets to hold this center support. Now this piece of wood is about 9 inches by 2 inches thick right here in the middle. And we're gonna make a pocket onto our uprights that will hold that. It's gonna have a 1/4 inch round at the bottom of the square, and that will make this fit right in there just perfectly. To get our dimensions right, we're gonna use the shaper to rough it in, and then we're gonna take a jigsaw with a 4-inch blade, and we're gonna cut that all the way around, and then we'll clean it up with a flush trim bit. Now once this goes down in there, we're gonna drill some holes for these brass pegs that I've made. These really aren't anything special, it's purely aesthetics, but they're gonna look really, really nice. We made this from some 3/4 inch stock that we got off of Amazon. So they're about 4 inches by 3/4 inches. Let's move this board out of the way, and then let's get to cutting. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna find the center of this board. We're gonna mark it out with a pencil, just so that when we scan it with our shaper, we have a point of reference of where we want that to be at. So this is 26 wide, so we know the center is gonna be 13. So I got 2 marks there. And I'm just gonna come in, put a line there, right? And then we want it to be 9 1/8. 9 1/8 down to the where the bottom of the board will sit. So we'll put another line. So now when we're looking at this with the shaper and we scan it, we have this center mark right here that we can use to see, hey, that's where we want the top of our design to be at. So it'll go down like this, and then it'll go right there and then come back off. That's gonna make it really easy for us to find our way once we're inside the shaper. So now let's put down some shaper tape and then get inside the shaper. All right, so the shaper is up and going. We're gonna scan our work area, and then we're gonna lay down our square. So now we're gonna go into create, and we're gonna go to rectangle. We're gonna hit place, and now we have our square. And so it goes off, which is perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down about 1/2 inch. That's all we really need. We might actually go a little bit further, just around the square. And then once we get that, we're gonna grab the jigsaw off the wall, we'll cut it out, and then we'll run the flush trim bit on it. All right, so now we've got our pocket out. We're not gonna worry about clearing out this wood because we're just gonna run a jigsaw basically right through here. And then any wood that's left, we're gonna run in with a trim bit, and it's just gonna run and make everything super flush. So now let's grab the jigsaw and cut this down. All right, so we've got our block out. We don't need that anymore. Now we've got a little bit of some extra wood inside of here. So what we're gonna do is get our flush trim bit on our big router and clean that up. All right, so now that we have our pocket made, it's flush and it's ready to accept our beam to go across it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this to the side, bring our beam up here, and we're gonna cut the holes to put our pegs in. All right, so now it's time to put the holes into our stretch board, or the board that goes all the way across, our support board. We're gonna put the 3/4 inch holes into that board. Now it's a little smaller than 3/4, but we're just gonna walk in the fit with our shaper. Now remember, these are just aesthetic, they're not really serving any structural purpose, but we do want them to be a good firm fit. So we're gonna find basically where we want them to be. So we want 4 inches of this board to stick out past our upright. So I'm gonna put a mark at 4. Okay. And then I want them to be about 2 inches in from the top and 2 inches in from the bottom. Now we're gonna do 2.5 inches actually. All right. So now that we have our marks, we're gonna set up our origin. So now that we've got our pocket basically where we want it, where this is a tight fit, but it does fit all the way in there, we're going to punch all the way through, and then we're going to do the rest of the holes. We have 3 more after this. So now we've finished the base pretty much. As you can see, the support comes down the middle, hits the uprights and the pockets that we made, and then we have those brass accents at the very end. It's just a nice little touch. It gives it something that really makes it stand out. The last thing that we need to do on this base is to put the mounts that are gonna hold the tabletop to it. And then the whole thing is ready for finish. So that's our next thing, is put these mounts on. The table is done and everything is in the dining room. I'm really thrilled with how it came out. I love the brass accent. I love the fact that we've added some stability, got rid of that dip, and now we have 8 matching chairs that go to make a set. This is a really, really fun project. I had a great time doing it. Big thanks to Real American Hardwood for supplying this black walnut for us, and we'll see you guys on the next project.